Back when I was just a wee little lad in the early 2000s and surrounded by Wii Sports and Lunchables, I found myself in my cousin's bedroom, sitting on the floor, staring at a big box television, watching a kid with a backwards cap use his lightning mouse to battle two grown adults. This amazing episode of Pokemon was my first introduction to the world of the weebs, which is to say, it was my first time watching anime. And it was that strange Pocket Monster battle that led me to discover countless other amazing series over the years. But nowadays, with so many titles to choose from, where do you start if you're an anime newbie? I'm JJ, and I'm here to help you with my list in no particular order of the best anime for beginners. First on the list is Death Note. As the saying goes by like Caesar or something, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it gets even worse if you're a sociopathic teenager with a superiority complex and an otherworldly notebook that can kill someone if you write their name inside of it. And yet, that is the basic premise of Death Note. It's an exciting game of cat and mouse that will leave you locked in your room questioning if you've ever done anything worthy of being written in that book. Next up is Cowboy Bebop. Imagine if Suicide Squad was actually good, or if Guardians of the Galaxy was even better, with a show that tells really good stories about not really good people. Oh, and it all takes place in space. That is essentially Cowboy Bebop. It's about a group of bounty hunters hopping around the galaxy on their spaceship, the Bebop. But with amazing characters, including an unbelievably smart corgi, intense battles, and a tremendously jazzy soundtrack, Cowboy Bebop manages to venture past every other space story to create a memorable watching experience, and in only 26 episodes. Everybody behind the camera would yell at me if I didn't add Full Metal Alchemist to the list, and for good reason. It tells the story of two brothers who learn the lesson that nothing is free the hard way, when one loses a literal arm and a leg while the other loses everything but his soul. This is perfect for anyone who loved the insane scope of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but wanted more violence, more personifications of the 7 deadly sins, and more secret Hitlers. And one thing we all have to agree was missing from Avatar was more secret Hitlers. One of my personal favorite anime is One Punch Man. In a world dominated by Marvel and DC and every other studio in existence making a superhero movie, One Punch Man is the hero we deserve and the one we need right now. The main character may look like your average bald guy, but he just so happens to be so incredibly powerful that he can defeat any enemy in a single punch. Being that strong may sound fun, but in this show you'll learn it can actually be pretty boring. I mean, what's the point if you can just beat everyone in a single punch? It's a show that not only makes fun of typical superhero tropes, but of anime itself. The fact that it has such a good art style and is so gut-punchingly funny makes it a must-watch for anime and non-anime viewers alike. And if you didn't get enough superhero action from the 2 seasons of One Punch Man, then let me direct your attention to one of the biggest anime right now, My Hero Academia. In a world where 80% of the population is born with powers or quirks, it would suck to not have one. But sadly, that is what happened to the main protagonist of this story, until the most powerful hero of all gifts him with super strength. With an eclectic and colorful cast, stunning fight scenes, and equal parts humor and heart, My Hero Academia is sure to be a quick favorite of anyone who watches it. And unlike most anime on this list, it hasn't ended yet, so now is the perfect time to jump into it and start to daydream about what your quirk would be. At this point, even if you haven't watched any anime, you've at least heard of Dragon Ball Z. Ask most people who have been watching anime since they were kids, and they'll say this was their first anime. It's full of epic fight scenes, endless screaming, and insane characters. Practically everybody and their mom knows the spectacle that is going Super Saiyan, or at least that the guy with blonde hair is scarier than the guy with dark hair. And it is this notoriety that makes Dragon Ball Z the ultimate starter anime. It is a longer anime, so I suggest starting with one of the others on this list before sacrificing the next couple months watching it. Oh wait, it's only 96 hours. That's only like 4 days of episodes. Never mind then, do whatever you want. If you need a challenge, go watch One Piece. And that, my future weebs, is just a handful of some awesome anime I would recommend for beginners. But there are so many more. From Neon Genesis Evangelion to Demon Slayer, I envy you for being able to experience all of them for the first time. I'm JJ, and I guess I'll see you when I see you. Bye!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Treasures of the Animu. Today, I'll be talking not about an ancient artifact, but instead a legendary alien device. This item was the Omnitrix, and with it, the world was changed drastically after its creation. So let's just see how this fancy wristwatch caused such a massive situation. Years ago, on the planet Galvin Prime, there was a scientist named Azimuth. He was considered one of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy, but he wasn't always the wisest. In his youth, he got into a relationship with a lady named Zenith. During a date, they watched a planetary alignment. Well, most would see this as a perfect moment to make out, since they were on a date after all. Azimuth didn't do that. Instead, this moment inspired him to create a sword named Ascalon. Once his girlfriend realized this, she broke up with him. You would think girls would be impressed when you show them a large sword.
What did he say?
No wonder why I can't get a date. My love life aside, it turns out this sword would cause Azimuth more problems than just heartache. Seemed there was a civil war brewing on the Incursion homeland, and an unknown warrior stole Ascalon, believing it would help end the civil war. Turns out it instead destroyed the planet. Once Azimuth discovered this, he hid Ascalon. Oh my gosh. It's funny, whenever I have scripts with Japanese names, I struggle so hard, but whenever it comes to alien names, I'm good. I seem to be doing well with it. Once Azimuth discovered this, he hid Ascalon and sought to use his science for more peaceful endeavors. Just like Tony Stark, he started building devices hoping to help bring peace to the galaxy. One of these devices he made was the Omnitrix. The Omnitrix is a device that could scan alien DNA and transform the user into said alien. Once it was discovered, many believed there were two reasons for it being made. One was to help the user understand how different species think and act. Another was to help collect the DNA of species Azimuth considered intelligent. The main reason he did, though, was in hopes to win the heart of Zenith back. Yep. I guess he thought if a sword wouldn't impress her, a watch that can collect millions of alien species would. Someone should just try to find a date online. Some of the species shown are the Cancelian, or XLR8, a species known for having a blue skin, blue stripes, and the ability to move really fast. Vulpomancer, or Wildmet, an orange canine which they can sense their foes with amazing smell and hearing, and probably the most popular, the Tetramand, or Forearms. Think of them as if Machamp from Pokemon turned red and became big in laws. Once it got completely calibrated, though, there were even more aliens to discover. However, there was one that is considered the most dangerous of them all. This is Celestial Sapiens, or Alien X. These are omnipotent beings that are native to the forge of creation. They are almost limitless beings that can destroy all of the galaxy if they felt like it. Their only downside is they are comprised of multiple voices, and they can only do stuff when they all agree upon it. Still, with something as powerful as that, would you want to risk it? Either way, that certainly was an enlightening item to discuss. How one man's love life turned into a device that can contain a being that can destroy reality as we know it. So I guess I'll just leave this here. I'll see you all on the next Treasures of the Animu.
What's up, Annie fam? It's your boy JJ, and I'm here to talk about my favorite anime or cartoon from when I was yay high. And let's see, when I was thinking long and hard about this, and I gotta go with my boys, my brothers, Phineas and Ferb. They got me through some tough times. Taught me what an aglet is, Swinter. You seen Dan Povemeyer on TikTok? He's still kicking it, right? So Phineas and Ferb, it's pretty great. Raised me better than my dad. What? Sorry, cut that. I'm JJ.
Hi, my name is Andrew Simon, and my favorite cartoon/anime growing up is Well, it's still one of my favorites to this day, and that has to be Steven Universe. The show, it was really what got me into cartoon/anime as a whole, and I just really like the story. I really like the characters. It really left a big impact in my life, and yeah, I'll still watch it to this day. I still will. It's a great show. I recommend people on watching. Again, I'm Andrew Simon, and thank you for watching. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the start. So, my name, I am Michael Urbans, and I've been known to have a few controversial opinions, like I'm not a big fan of Death Note and stuff like that. But now, probably the most controversial one of them all. For me, growing up, there was a few anime that made me into a fan. Like I remember watching Pokemon, I remember watching Naruto. But for me, the one that truly drew me the most attention was Bobobo. Now, a lot of people, I've heard like mixed opinions about some people saying they weren't big fans of the show, but I just still love the show. Like, I even recently got the entire series on Blu-ray just because of how much I enjoy the show. And I would love to see it come back, but like I said, like I still like that's one of the shows that truly like made me like really enjoy anime as a whole. So basically, while some people would probably say that I am wrong, well, they were allowed to have their own opinion about that. So overall, that would be my childhood show.
Yep, I'm ready for my mic check. I'm ready for my close-up. Hello, I'm Justin Brown, and in terms of cartoons and anime that I watched a lot as a kid, I mean, there's a lot of, more like classic ones that I've seen, it's like, oh, it's Avatar, or, oh, I really like Backyardigans, or all this. I gotta say, there's one show that I can't think of another show that got me quite as hyped, and that is Batman the Animated Series. I watched that show all the time as a kid. Like, I'm pretty sure they stopped making new episodes like years before I actually started like watching it, but it's so good. I cannot recommend it enough. It's child friendly while also somehow being remarkably adult. It's amazing, and I can't think of another animated show that had quite the same effect on that had quite the same effect on me. Like, I can't think of it's just amazing. I would highly recommend it. It's an amazing show. So yeah, that's the Batman the Animated Series is probably the show that stuck with me the most in my childhood.
All right, so my favorite show growing up, I would probably have to say, no, I changed my mind. It's Batman Beyond. It has to be Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond was such a cool show. It was just so chill. Like the first episode where Batman nearly has to use a weapon, was just shocking, when it happened. It has such a good build-up. It's dark, adult. It's such a blast to watch as a kid. The villains were so weird too. You had that one ink lady. The gadgets were also so neat as well. Terry was so great as Batman. Being a younger Batman that was more relatable. He was in, I think, high school, yeah. It was cool seeing a futuristic, land in the Batman universe. The intro was so kick butt. It reminded me of the video game Deus Ex. It was just so dark, edgy. It was really cool. It was like you were I guess you were going through something. You were having a hallucination. The show was just so awesome. And yeah, Terry's girlfriend, I had a crush on her, man, when I was a kid. So yeah, that's my favorite show growing up as a kid. That's how I became a Chad today.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Donovan, and I am here to talk about a cartoon that I grew up on, or anime. So growing up, I watched a lot of cartoons. I was always glued onto the TV. Even after I came home from school, I threw my homework to the side, went to the TV, watched a lot of stuff. And the one thing that I definitely grew up on and I remember loving the most was definitely the Pokemon anime series. It was kind of like baby's first anime for me. Like, it introduced me into the world of anime. I just loved the whole style of it. I loved all of the Pokemon. I just loved everything about it. And then it made me a big avid fan of Pokemon. And then when I heard there was games about it, that's how I got into video games in general. So yeah, for me, Pokemon really was something that that was a big part of my childhood and made me into the person today. So I have to thank them for that.
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh. I'm here to answer the question of what my favorite cartoon and/or anime was growing up. And I know pretty much everyone else has given one anime or one cartoon here and there, and all of them were pretty good choices, I have to admit. But my favorite cartoon / anime comes from a whole channel's worth of cartoons. Now, of course, there was Cartoon Network. Back in the heyday of the early 2000s, those were the best cartoons to watch. Made my whole childhood. Loved all of them. I remember, was it Cartoon Planet or Cartoon Town? I can't remember, but it was all the cartoons were living in this one big town, and you saw all of them living together in intermissions between each episode. Fantastic, great. But my main choice comes from, and I might open up a whole floodgate of nostalgia for any of you who know this channel. My favorite cartoons that come from the channel Jetix. Me and my brother, when we were younger, growing up, we had this routine. We would wake up, brush our teeth, eat breakfast, and before we had school, we had at least 2 hours to watch this just list of shows. It was Digimon, Jackie Chan Adventures, Power Rangers, and this one show that the name always eludes me. It's Dragon something, I can't remember. It's basically where these people put in magical bracelets and they're able to obtain the powers of whatever animals on the bracelet. So it was one was a cheetah, one was a dragon, one was a monkey. But that was basically our routine for years. We would get up and wait for, brush our teeth, have breakfast, and then while we're eating breakfast, just have a whole routine of watching all those shows. They all came on within those 2 hours. It was Digimon, Jackie Chan Adventures, and all those other ones. Just a whole routine, fantastic, loved it. And every other show on that channel was great. I miss Jetix, man. It was such a good channel. Oh man, it had so many good cartoons and stuff like that, and anime. It was aside from Dragon Ball Z and Toonami, it was also my my entrance into the world of anime. Which has brought you this wonderful show you have right here. But yeah, there were a lot of good anime and cartoons on that channel. So yeah, I know I kind of bent the rules on this one, but yeah, those are my favorite cartoons and anime.
Okay, first of all, I didn't realize to break the rules and do a whole channel instead of a show.
Technically, it wasn't a whole channel. It was more like segment. It was that 2 hours of shows that ran, the Jackie Chan Adventures, the Digimon, and all that stuff. Those were the main ones because I watched those all the time.
Okay.
But Jetix as a whole was
What's up, Animation Nation? We're back. It's He Did Nothing Wrong. We're talking about the main villain of Season 1 of The Legend of Korra, Amon. I'm JJ.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Carson Zudroga.
And we're going to be discussing if he did anything wrong. Carson, what do you think?
I think he's a bad boy.
Yeah?
Yeah, he should belong in jail. Really bad boy. He didn't really seem to kill too many people, and his intentions are good. He was a protester. He was protesting against,
I guess, the superiority of the benders.
Yeah.
But he also took away the powers of the benders, and I think that was a little hypocritical. Because true equality means you should treat everyone equal. Don't try to oppress the previous oppressors or anything like that. Treat everyone equally, but he just turned into a megalomaniac, and he was very hypocritical because he was spoiler alert, he was a bender himself. And yeah, he created a cult. So he's a bad boy in my opinion.
Okay, can I go next?
You sure can.
All right, so, here's the thing with him being a bender. Like, yes, that can turn against people, but here's the thing. If he went out and said, like, I'm straight up a bender and I'm against bending entirely, people wouldn't really...
Well, I think that would be stronger because he should have actually came up as a bender first because he would be more like, hey guys, I'm a bender. I realize that you guys are being mistreated, but I'm with you guys. We should be equal. He would be building a bridge, but he decided to be divisive and eventually he became a hypocrite.
But he probably thinks like some people wouldn't really believe him, and they might take his powers, take powers away from him.
But his whole movement was based off of the idea of division. Someone would have eventually found out he would have been a bender, and that would have really screwed things up. He tried to create a wall between benders and non-benders, and he turned up,
But basically, his whole idea is he wants to create a face for people who think that the benders are truly that believe that they have higher priorities. Because I know you said they probably should we should probably get along, treat everyone equal. But the thing is when they built when Aang won and built a city and created this whole new system, it still there's still some aspects where it just wasn't equal. There's some parts where the non-benders are kind of treated as second-class people.
I don't have a problem with his movement, just I guess how it worked. You should have pushed for that more. Let's reform the system.
What you were saying, right? His movement is good. Equality, that's good. But the thing, he did it wrong.
Yeah.
He used scare tactics. He used fear as a weapon.
Created a cult.
He used propaganda, right? He showed that he had the ability to amass a bunch of people to get on his side. But then once he got those people, he turned them into soldiers and they just went around zapping everybody. If he got those group of people, he could enact real change. But instead, he just went out all willy-nilly and was having people hurt and kill people.
Yeah, so that's why he's a bad boy. That's why he was wrong.
Okay, here's the thing. The philosophy is that the benders would stop them, and so they think that the best thing they do is to combat against them, and the way to combat against them is take away their bending, which, spoiler, that's what Aang did to Amon's father, and so it got the inspiration for Amon himself to go and take away people's bending, so that way, no one could have much more power to stop anyone over them.
There's no problem with defending yourself from potential benders. I mean, benders kind of created a lot of dangerous wars and a lot of division, but we shouldn't be taking away the powers of benders either, because that's the way a lot of people function. I mean, if you see the show, you see that a lot of benders, especially fire benders and earth benders, use their bending abilities a lot for their jobs. And I do also need to remind you, benders aren't always on the top. I mean, take the example I just gave. Working hard in the factories, powers or not, is not exactly the best job out there.
Yeah, but there's some jobs where only a bender can do, and those, I know there's some bender jobs that aren't as great, but there's a ton of others, and even the chairman, the chair people that are in charge, it seemed like the only way for people to get up, potentially go up to the top, is for them to be a bender, and that feels like that's isolating
Well,
them.
then let's help
Oh, you can say something first.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, having the ability to bend, like, I think since Katara is still alive, it's gotta be like 70 years, because she's like super, super old between when Aang defeated Fire Lord Ozai and then Legend of Korra. So, and you saw like Ba Sing Se, right? That was a pretty developed nation. And then you look at, I forget what the city is called, but like basically where most of Korra happens.
Republic City?
Republic City, right? You saw how developed that is? They have cars within just 70 years. And I feel like with Amon building up his army, taking away bending, I feel like they were just gonna go back to square one and there was gonna be no more industrialization, there was gonna be no development. And I just don't think he thought it through. And the fact that he said that his whole thing is that benders are given too much power, they're favored over people who can't bend. He has no proof.
Yeah, I mean,
He literally has no proof.
and even if that's true, we should. Why take away powers from the benders? Let's give more power to the non-benders.
Plus the
We don't
fact that
have
he is a bender.
Yeah,
Like,
we don't have to take things from others to give
Well,
to
that's
others.
the thing though. Like, can non-benders get bending powers?
Well, maybe they can be more. They're already advancing in technology. I have no doubt that maybe in the future they can mimic those abilities too.
well, here's something, right? His whole thing I just thought of is that his whole thing is bending versus non-benders. And he is a bender. So does he really care that benders are more favorable over non-benders? Or does he just want to be in a position of power?
Let's be honest. If this was probably any other way, if it was the benders who were seemingly being more oppressed, he probably would have rented them instead. He's clearly a guy who seems to want
Right? So
more
I think
power,
he's
I
just
think.
an opportunist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like he is a victim of an abusive father. He had a bad childhood. From like age 14, he ran away and then he was all on his own. He's obviously got something up in there. And I feel like his mind might be in the right place because I guess in a way like there could be more equality, but just the whole way that he went about it was just all wrong.
Yeah, like I think part of that is because of the influence of his father, because his father, like, he abused him when he was younger, and so like his influence on Amon, like, it made the decisions that he made, which, I mean, yeah, it seems questionable, but that's what he thinks that his father would think it's best, even though like he is not happy with what his father has done.
All right, so let's sum this all up. Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy, or is he something in the middle? What do you think?
He's a bad guy. He was a hypocrite. I think he's opportunist. And everything he did, even his own movement, has a lot of flaws and is full of misinformation. And, that created something disastrous.
What do you think?
I would say somewhere in the middle. Like, yes, like some of the stuff he did was flaw, and like there's aspects where he was a villain, but then there's then there's other aspects where I could see what he was trying to do and why some people would think he's doing the right thing.
Well, I think this can all be summed up in one sentence. He did do something wrong. Catch you next week.
So long.